or Milano-Sanremo. Oh, Milano-Sanremo, it's crazy. You go 3 hours, 180 watts average. Nothing. You just eat, drink, waiting.
You wait. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the podcast. Here we have an episode dedicated towards Italy, and we have two guests, which are coach and a former professional rider. So Giovanni and Davide, welcome.
Thank you. Ciao.
Hi.
So I'll let you introduce yourself. I made a very brief introduction of who you are, and so now the word to you to describe who you are and what do you do and how you are involved in cycling, and who of the two is a professional.
Exactly. I'm the former professional rider. I'm Davide, and I was a professional rider from 2016 until 2024, until December 23. So now I'm collaborate with Giovanni, that is a coach living close to my home, and nothing. We are here to speak about preparation and what is the difference between pro cycling and amateur cycling.
Exactly. I'm Giovanni. I'm 33 years old. I'm a personal trainer and a cycling trainer. I live in Brescia. I have a gym in Brescia. His name is Sport and Health Program Training. And the gym is the place where we and Davide test our athlete. I'm also an amateur athlete. I love race and competition.
You started from the gym or you started from cycling? What was your evolution, Giovanni?
From the gym. From the gym.
But he was passionate about cycling. We met each other at school, where we was in different classroom, but very close. And I was already a rider as juniores, and he was a passionate. So we were already speaking about racing and professional cycling. And then luckily I become also a pro rider.
Yes.
Luckily,
and
you've
a bit
made
of
an impressive career in Kolpak. I think you were in Kolpak as a junior or under 23 or
under 23, yes. In juniores, I was in Feralpi, another good team close to my home, a small one, but very organized. And as under 23, I raced in Tuscany for 2 years, and then 2 years in Kolpak, that is close to our home in Bergamo. So I think I did a good career as under 23, and I became pro in ethics.
And now you're going back to Kolpak.
Yeah, I'm very lucky that Kolpak next year want to do a professional team, so Pro Conti. So they want to improve a little bit already this year to start developing, looking for next year. So
I think also Kolpak is very lucky to have people like you that are from the area, know a lot from the professionals. So I'm really looking forward on what is going to be the development
Thank you.
of Kolpak this year. So I wanted, since you have direct experience, I wanted to touch a little bit the differences between amateurs and professionals. The first thing, what do professionals have as a goal for the season, and what do amateurs have for the goal as a season?
Maybe I start. We have already some goals in our heart and mind, but normally when we go to the first training camp in December, we speak with the coaches and to the sport director, and we decide the goals. But normally the goals are based for sure in the characteristic of the athlete and the goal of the team. For sure, in the biggest team, except for the very, very big riders, all the others is working as a domestic and they need to be ready when the leaders are ready. So it's just developing your condition, following the condition of the leader. So you have only a few smaller goals, and the others is looking at the biggest rider.
But one question here. So it is a mixture of, the sportive director, the coach, and the athlete that make the goal, or where does it come from? The team decides what you're gonna do, or you
Okay.
have.
For the biggest rider, is I think 50-50. So like Pogacar maybe say to UAE, I would like to do Giro and Tour, and if they like, they say okay. So, but for the other riders, small riders, it's 80% on coaches and sport director, and only 20% about rider. So maybe they say, okay, I would like to do a small race like Coppi e Bartali because it's more or less close to my home, but the biggest race is decided by the coaches and sport director. This is.
Yeah. Amateur instead,
Yes.
Giovanni.
Where-
What do you see?
There are a lot of difference between pro and amateur goals, naturally. Pro ride want to win a race, or they try to win a race. Sometimes the amateur want to ride only for fun or improve their result. Every athlete, for me, must have a goal, whatever level he has. At the beginning of the season, I ask each, what is your goal? It's important for me. One goal could be improve his FTP or critical power. Another goal could be
Beat the time of last
yes,
year, one Grand
or
Prix.
improve a time on the climb, or beat a friend.
Sometimes.
Yes, it's important.
Often.
It's important. Other amateurs compete every Sundays, and their goal often is the best performance possible in every race. For me, this situation is the most difficult. But there are some amateurs we want really to win a race in a criterium race, Gran Fondo, or marathon race.
And here the problem sometimes is that it's not only our work, because we can give them the best support to reach the best condition, but then when like in a criterium they are not really able to drive the bike or do a big downhill and following the first group after a long climb is not our job anymore. But in the end, it's not like a pro team that all the riders, when you become pro, is because you won as under 23, as junior. So for sure, you are really able to do a downhill. Sometimes when I heard some amateurs say, this guy is not good to ride his bike, it's not true. Maybe the last pro rider is better than a normal average amateur. So.
But here I want to make a couple of questions now. So let's say we have an amateur rider who has 80-85 kilograms, and he says, my goal is to do the Maratona delle Dolomiti and finish in the top 30, 50, whatever. No?
Impossible.
Then you impossible. Then you see his profile and you see that, maybe on 10 seconds he has 1,400 watts. And you say on 1 minute he has 800 or something. And you said, I mean, if you go and race criteriums, maybe you have chance of doing something nice. If you go to the Maratona delle Dolomiti, as you said, impossible. But do you try to tell him this, that he would have success in
also
some other races?
50-50. Sometimes we prefer to follow the question of the rider, because when they come and they say, okay, I did some criterium, I won, but this time I want to change a little bit, we say, okay, we try to do our best. We tell directly him, mate, for sure, you can't go there for a big result, but you can do everything because you can finish the marathon in an average group. So, but not often we try to change the goals of the rider, especially when they want to compete against himself. So
I agree on this approach for amateurs. I'll make an example.
yes,
I was coaching a guy that I nicknamed Gorilla. So he was around
everything.
he was around 80 kilograms, and he said, I want to do cronoscalate, hill climbs. I was like, yeah, okay.
Maybe
was-
4%
Yeah,
climbs.
he was still, he was around 400 watts in FTP, which was solid numbers, no? But you
Yeah.
said, okay, if you really want to do that, go for it. And if it makes you happy, go for it. And at the end, he was doing it. He was never winning them, but he was doing okay, and he was funny. And I think that was the most important part for an amateur, that having fun in what do you do.
Yeah, 400 watts for 80 kilos, not bad. Especially maybe when it's not more than 8-9%, can be.
Yeah, it works. Maybe it was 390, but more or less there in that area. So.
Over 360, 370 is good.
Yeah. And instead, also the difference between pro and amateur, food and let's say supplements. How is this managed, let's say, during a season in pro cycling, and how is this managed between amateurs?
Okay, in my opinion, the amateur normally they have too much information about pro cycling, but most of the time they don't know exactly what they must do. I mean, they listen in a video or in a podcast, beta-alanine is the best supplement. Yeah, true. But you know what you must do with it or not? Normally not. And then they listen 120 grams of carbo every hour, but they don't train the gut. So it's hard to absorb, impossible. It's just too much. When you are able to, when you normally eat 40, 60 grams, no way to go directly to 120. Yeah, they have access to a lot of information, but it's not like in pro cycling. In pro cycling, we have some people working for us. They do some studies exactly for us. They test us and they say to us, it's best for you bicarbonate of sodium or potassium sodium because you don't gain weight. So I think when one guy train 10, 12 hours every week, except normal food, they need almost nothing.
The amateur, for me, think too much at nutrition, but it's important, but it's only nutrition is not the best thing for the amateur. There are a lot of things, but
sometimes I speak with some amateur. They are looking for 10 grams more or less. Even in the bike, they think in the same way. Like,
I'm here.
Yeah.
I changed, the little screws in the bike to have
perfect
3 grams.
Perfect. They want the bike 7 kilo instead 7.1, and then they have 15 or 18 fat percentage. So maybe sometimes they look at the small things, but they lose the biggest.
I agree. So yeah, probably also if you do like 10, 12 hours and you spend probably 2 hours on choosing the food, supplements and everything. If you spend 2 more hours in training,
for sure improve.
It's better, no?
I agree, totally agree.
So yeah.
It's difficult.
And you save some energy also of your mind because stress is stress.
It's stress is stress. Yeah. And if you start stressing about food, so first try to make the simple things, and then if you really want to do advanced, probably we'll see, but you have potential before that.
Some amateur also, they have a special job that they have 18, 20 hours a week. We have 2 or 3 that train like pro.
Yeah.
So at this level, you arrive in top 10 in a biggest race. So there is important to go to see what is the top before.
Because here on food, we mentioned before 100 grams per hour of carbs, no? And then you make the big discussion if it's going to be 2-to-1 ratio of fructose and maltose or 1-to-0.8. If you make the calculation, it's 10 gram difference in it's 55 against 45 or 60 against 40. That doesn't change much. The thing is that most of the people use this only when they race. They don't use it during the week. They don't use it during the training. Sometimes they use it during the long rides, but not during the short trainings of 1 or 2 hours during the week. And it doesn't work. So it means you ingest 100 grams, but you can process 60, 50, 40. So the other 40 is just there and let's say wasted, not fully utilized.
Wasted of money also.
Yeah. It's quite expensive. So I would like to go a little bit on different kind of races. So maybe on Gran Fondos, on marathon races, on criteriums, and then on pro races. Also here, one-day races and multi-day races. What do you think here is the difference? Is it the intensities that people hold during, let's say, a one-day race or a marathon race in mountain bike or a Gran Fondo? Or is it just the race development? What do people need to be successful in the amateur environment? And by successful mean reaching your goal, not necessarily winning, or to be successful in pro cycling?
In the amateur races, there are a lot of difference because the power profile is naturally different. There are some amateurs. They have 5 watt 4 kilos or 3 4 kilos. It's naturally because the amateurs have a job, a family, a friend, stress, problems. There are some external factors, but some athletes want to win a Gran Fondo or a marathon or a criterium ride. The big difference is the intensity, because some athletes want to win a Gran Fondo, they start with a high intensity at a FTP intensity on a long climb, but in the first kilometers there are some acceleration. It's a problem because the race are long, but the real selection often is in this part of the race. The real secret to have a good race is try to keep a good intensity in
every climb.
If a cyclist keep FTP intensity in the final climb, often he will have a good performance. Probably the durability of and the volume of training are the more important thing for the amateur, for me.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. For this, a lot of times you see ex-pro cyclists, former pro cyclists win Gran Fondo even with less training. Or for sure the engine count. Even 5 or 10 years later, if you were pro, is because you have something more than others, for sure. But anyway, I think the durability stay longer, and the most important characteristic for a pro cyclist is perform after 4, 5, 6 hours, because you can be the strongest in 30, 40 minutes effort, but in the end you need to be powerful in the last half an hour. So for me, one characteristic is, like he said, the durability and
the management of the race.
Yeah, and then exactly. The ex-pro, he has also the capacity to to perform well and know what is the limit or his best. Okay, now I can't go over because then later I don't perform anymore. So it's a bit different, but in the end, when you can manage well, you do well. Because a lot of times we saw our guys be very strong in the first half race, like you were,
Yes.
because he come from mountain bike and he always start full gas and okay, I keep this group, and then after 2 hours, boom, explosion. And I say to him a lot of times, no, take your group and try to improve, because okay, the victory maybe is gone because who win can go well and stay well until the end, but for do a good result or your best result, you can also recover a lot of people during the last class.
Yeah,
a lot of times I saw some guys blocked the middle of the road, but really
game over. Big sign, game over on them, and that's it. Now, what I also see is another thing. So let's say during let's say 5-hour pro race, you see a lot of times the intensity factor, that is, you check at the end 0.7, 0.75, something around that. If you check Gran Fondos or Medio Fondos in Italy, you'll probably see a lot of people that didn't manage the race probably very well, that have these intensity factors above 0.8, 0.82. So I think overall in the amateur scene, it's very important to have, let's say, a high FTP, because that's what you're trying to do all the time. Probably in pro cycling, there is quite some time spent also when you're not pushing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's more, you have some periods when you push way more than the amateurs, also in relative terms, and some other parts of the race that can be relatively, I wouldn't say easy, but manageable.
No, it's easy. I can tell you.
Okay. And this usually you never see during a Gran Fondo or a Medio Fondo. People just try to go hard or very hard almost all of the time, because that's what sometimes they think is the best way also to have satisfaction at the end of the race. So if you come at the end of the race and you are dead, you say, oh yeah, I made a nice race. Depends. If you're dead because you stayed for 2 hours in front of the group pulling everyone, well, it's not.
I know. I want to say one more thing about the ex-pro that do a Gran Fondo. They have also the mentality to, okay, now it's not really important to go 1 kilometer faster, and maybe I save energy here, but then when I open the gas in the next climb, I can found the gruppetto that is front of me. And like you said before, a lot of time in the pro race is made in Zeta 1 or 2, zone 1 or 2, like in Ron van Vlaanderen. We were looking when we were in Belgium for the races of Rebecca, my girlfriend. We were looking at the Ron van Vlaanderen 2020 that I did, and the average power, it was not crazy, like 240 or something like this in 6 hours, but the last three it was 360 normalized power, 3 hours. So maybe the intensity factor, it was 0.60, but the last 3 hours 0.95 normalized. So
incredible.
Instead in races in Gran Fondo, so maybe the first 20-30 people can play a little bit with this, but the other ones during the first 2 hours they have 0.9. and then it goes to 0.8, and it's just different, no?
Different, totally. And the first 2 hours of Ron van Vlaanderen, when the breakaway is gone, you really, or Milano-Sanremo. Milano-Sanremo, it's crazy. You go 3 hours, 180 watts average. Nothing.
Recovery ride.
Even less. You just eat, drink, waiting.
You wait.
Yeah, you just wait until Turchino, then small acceleration in Turchino for take the downhill in front or maximum half bunch, and then okay, 1 hour and a half more along the sea. Not easy. They start to speed up a little bit and last 45 minutes, all or nothing.
Instead, so we talk now on racing. Instead, if we go on training, do you think that we have important things that can be taken from the pro methods of training and apply them to amateurs? Or do you think instead it is almost impossible or could be even dangerous or counterproductive to take some things that they do and put it to amateur levels?
What do you think?
I have a question. How long are the amateur races? Gran Fondo are 4 as Strade Bianche or 5 hours as Strade Bianche. Nove Colli is longer.
Long one.
Maratona dei Dolomiti is longer.
But all the others, no.
The others races are shorter. The criterium races are 2 hours in Italy.
Even less.
The pro rider train 2,005 hours a week.
See, 25, 23, 25 average.
Or 30 hours in...
yeah, before a big tour or in altitude.
Okay.
Yeah.
A job is a problem for amateur. A job is very a problem.
Our average rider train 12,
12.
15.
I try to train 17, 18 hours, but
It's hard.
It's
Which
difficult.
is quite a lot. So 900, 800 per year, no? More or less.
Yes, more, bit more.
We can't think to train as a pro rider. We can't think it.
Also,
but-
for another thing, you don't have time to recovery.
Yes.
Because, yeah, if I play everything every day for found the maximum hours a day, I can also do 2 hours in the morning, go work, 2 hours in the afternoon. But you can't do for, it's not sustainable. Impossible.
Yeah, you can do it probably
But-
for 1 week. Let's say you make 1 week like this, you make 1 big week, but you cannot do 1 full season like this.
Maybe if you work in an office close to home, 6 hours, but already 8 hours job, normal job, it's impossible.
But every day I look on Strava the training of some pro. I love it. Sometimes I copy, sometimes I tried some pro training, sometimes I say it wasn't a good idea. I did. For example, Wout van Aert every week runs 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
He's a very good runner, but the cyclists are not good runners. We can't become Wout.
No.
This
Unluckily, no.
No.
this is important, but some amateurs want to copy the pro rider.
Yeah.
It's a problem for the coaches, but it's a beautiful because every person have a dream.
Yeah, for sure. It's made of dream life.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
if doing the training that a pro gives you motivation and you can probably do 1 training, not the whole week that they do, probably it can also have sense to make them do that. They will be happy. They will do probably some job that, if you manage it correctly, can be productive. I mean, you have to adjust probably the intensities, sometimes the recovery between the sets or stuff like that. But can be a good boost to
Yeah.
do something more.
A lot of times we add to the program of our riders protocol MVDP or protocol Yumbo. So we try also to add something that they give some motivation extra. But like when you asked what is maybe unproductive for an amateur is like when an amateur has only 8-10 hours. For me, they can't do polarized training because you lose too much hours. You can't do 8 hours easy and just open full gas 2 hours. You can't throw away 4 or 5 trainings for be only productive in 2. So for me, this is the worst thing you can do. Other thing, yeah, you can copy a little bit. When we do our job well, we must do a good program and found where is good to insert it. But like polarized less than 16 hours, in our opinion, we tried sometimes, but doesn't work.
Yeah, polarized maybe needs to take in account the amount of hours spent in, if we call it zone 3 in the free model, free zones model or something. If that time is 1 hour and 20 minutes because you only have 6 or 8 hours per week, that's not making it.
When we analyze the Gran Fondo races, we see the sweet spot tempo are important for
most important, I think,
for an amateur. Polarize only for the top amateur for me, from my opinion.
Maybe an amateur that he has a lot of hours and maybe want to do medio fondo.
Yeah.
Because you need to be fresh, explosive. You need to open because you play against others, maybe in a small gruppetto, but they must have 18 hours or something like this.
Yeah, Giovanni, you said that when you look at Gran Fondo data or something, you see a lot of time in tempo, sweet spot, and threshold. No, this is more or less the area between, let's say, 2 millimole and 4 millimole. Which is a big focus from the professional triathlon with the Norwegian method, for example.
Okay.
Do you think that this can be translated to amateur cyclists or no? What is the big problem if we translate that method of training like they do with enormous amounts of time in that zone, plus enormous amounts of time in zone 1 to amateurs?
It's a difficult answer. I don't think I'll
give you my opinion first. So I think that the problem with this is the amount of hours that these professional triathletes use during the week. So that can be very helpful if it allows you to train 8 or 10 hours in that zone 2 per week. Again, if that has to be 20-30% of your training volume, means that you need to do 25-30 hours of volume at least per week. And again, we come to the problem of time availability. So even if it's true that a lot of time in the Gran Fondos is spent in these zones to develop them very well, let's say in the ideal way, through the, let's say, Norwegian method, if you want to call it this way, but I mean, a lot of training between 2 and 4 millimoles as intensity, or between zone 3 and threshold, so between 75 and 105% of the FTP, to have a rough idea, is not applicable because of the time constraints that amateurs have.
Yeah, I think the same, because the problem, like triathlete, they really do I don't know, 25 hours, 30 sometimes. So the problem is still the same. I agree with everything. And our guys that want to do Gran Fondo, but they have not enough time, we try to don't lose, never lose one day. I mean, In the weekend, longer ride with a bit of tempo and threshold, and in rollers, because a lot of guys, especially now that the sun go down early in the afternoon, we try to don't lose a single day. So it's never zone one, because if you do some intervals, not at VO2 max, but zone 3 or zone 3.5, you can do almost every day, because it's never destroyed by training.
Another problem for me is the correct zone of lactate for working in with this program, because how many athlete can be a lactate test?
Yeah, almost
No one.
nobody.
No one.
No one, because like a pro can test it often, or at least they have, I think, a very big database. Like me, really. In the last 8 years, I know that in December I have 340 threshold. In January, 370, 380. It depends when I restarted with bike. And during the season, 390, 400. Always. So, and I know myself, okay, now maybe 10 more, maybe 10 less, but you don't go far away from reality. But like amateur, sometimes we ask, but what is your feelings? You think you are working on zone 3, or maybe we are too high? I don't know. Also a big problem.
That's very true. Also, when they just start training, so they say, what do you think is your FTP? You say 250. Then you make the test, and you make, let's say, a 20-minute test, and you say from the test 245 in 20 minutes. Maybe not.
20, that's less. But yeah, is part of our job. Try to find the reality, because with some guys, sometimes they make a question that they make in discussion also our idea. But sometimes, often, we speak with guys that have no idea of what is the reality.
Instead, more on the technical side, no? Usually in the past or until recently, there were, sweet spot intervals or threshold intervals that were a block of 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, just one block. Recently, with the Norwegians, they have these methods of making 4 minutes, then make a 1 minute break, then 4 minutes, in order to get more volume. Do you like this, or you don't like this? What do you think?
We do it a lot.
Oh,
so
because
big positive yes on this one.
Yes, because we think also mentally. I did a lot with TT bike, really, really a lot. My protocol made by Quick Step. It was 4 minutes, 1 recovery, 4 minutes, 1 recovery for 4 times. So in totally 16 minutes in 20 minutes of time. So it's really, really less hard to know, okay, now I play a set on my Garmin, and it's just 4 minutes. In the end, 1 minute, it go away so fast, but you can breathe, recovery. Okay, when you start, you say, okay, another time, full gas, but you can go a bit above your threshold, and you can do, in my opinion, also in flat. It's more easy to do, because do 20 minutes at your FTP in flat, it's almost impossible. But
you make the space when you start, it's like for 20 minutes.
And I think it's a big yes. And then in between these 20 minutes, a big recovery, like 40 minutes, and then another time, 4 minutes. Yeah, for me, it's a big yes.
Yes.
So these are some of the parts that we can take from, let's say, the pros and
Yeah, true.
triathlon that they developed, and we can bring it to us because they give a good benefit and make our life easier as athletes, probably.
Yeah, big yes.
So instead, I want to go full amateur here. So the differences that we see between amateurs, we have some that are at 3 watts per kilogram of FTP or 2.5, whatever, and some others that manage to reach around 5, maybe some very, very good ones. I mean, the Grand Fondo winners are usually around 5, 5.5, more or less. That is the range. Well,
5.7.
5.7.
Very, very, very hard.
But I mean, at 5.7 in Italy, you can probably count them on.
Yeah, no.
5 or 5
Yes.
or 5.
Yeah.
We know also.
So, and some of these of the amateur guys train 6 to 8 hours per week. Some train, as you said, you have some that train 20, maybe up to 25 per week. Do you radically change what is the target of the training, and what do you look in the training data based on this? For the people that trains 8 hours, do you look mostly for the power and HR or cardiac drift, and you look at the same things for the athlete that trains a lot? Or do you say for a guy that trains not a lot or has a low FTP, you look for something precisely, and for the guy that trains instead very double the time, triple the time, you look at completely different metrics? For example, I said the cardiac drift during the ride, or during sets, how much is the recovery of the heart? What do you tend to look in one category or the other?
Yeah, for sure. Bigger is your capacity to go faster. So bigger is your watt kilo ratio, and bigger is the small things to look. I mean, sometimes okay, it's not so good to say, but when one guy has 2.5 watt per kilo, you can do almost everything, and but he will never go so good, except for who come from maybe another sport. So they start from zero, and you never know, can be a good athlete for sure. He will never gain 2 watt kilo, but can improve a lot. Yes. But for sure, when one guy is very strong, more we look for deep cardiac. So it's important to look at it. It's important to look the repeatability of threshold capacity, the durability, like we said before, and
max because
yeah, for sure, if you have 5.5, your VO2 max is high. It's not 50.
No, I ask at the athlete how much can you train?
Yeah. How many hours? Yes.
Many hours. Because
how much can you train, and how much do you really want to train? Because it is not so an idea that people have about how much effort do they want to put on a bike. I mean, some people, let's say, yeah, I can train more, but I don't want to. I'm happy to do 12 because my goal is to reach, the second page on the final result.
Problem.
I could probably reach the first, but I don't care. It's not my idea.
There is a big difference. There are some riders that they want to know what we give them, like I want to know why we do this training. And then another type of riders, okay, you just say to me and I do it.
Which ones do you prefer? The second one is better. No questions. You go and you do your stuff.
Yeah, exactly, because it's less hard, because you don't have to explain. we know our job, so we know why we do this type of training. But sometimes to explain is more difficult than just prepare a program. Because not everybody, like if I speak with you, okay, we can speak each other very well. But when you speak to one guy that really know less, it's hard.
Another problem is the comfort zone. Some amateurs love comfort zone.
Yeah.
Davide and I don't love it. We want to push.
And also the big problem is now they are speaking really a lot about zone 2. And some riders think, okay, I do very a lot of zone 2.
No.
But
No.
it's not the real
No.
zone 2, because in zone 2, yeah, we can speak each other, but not like now. So here I think a lot of people, they have a different idea of zone 2.
Yeah, zone 2, in my idea, means that during a ride, you have to spend at least 70% of the time in the zone 2 that is on the power meter. If I look at this data from people that said, yeah, I made a zone 2 ride, and they were not training consistently with some coaches or something, I see this parameter and usually is around 30, 40, 45%. And I said, yeah, okay, you made a free ride. You didn't make a training, which might be okay if you want to go on a free ride, but it's not a training in zone 2, that thing. And I also seen some other guys. I had a guy who made a 5-hour training ride, and it was all ups and downs, and he was in a group of 2 people. I checked the power meter data, and he had 90% of time in zone 2. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
you did a good job.
Also, the big difference between pro and amateur is like when they do up and down route, and they come to the top and they don't do tack tack and down. They just go. Ooh.
Yeah. I sometimes look at if you know Brandon McNulty, he posts his data on Strava, and it's so fun to see this guy going 70 kilometers per hour. Yeah, 70 kilometers per hour downhill because he wants to keep zone 2. I don't know how he does it.
Incredible. Oh, but for sure, it's very important. But it's like when you speak too much about one thing, you in the end you lose the reality. You keep you think too much about one thing, but you lose the other things. Like zone 2 now is like polar training, so everybody is speaking about it. But then when you go only zone 2, yeah, we have some adaptation important,
but
from the body, but everything is important.
It's not the main thing.
No.
Do you think a lot of changes about zone 2 or how people train came with COVID and with the indoor trainers and with Zwift, or not? Do you think something changed that? Because I think that people after that started to train a lot more indoors because they were forced to, and some of them like it, like me. And people got a little bit more. You don't like it.
No.
People got a little bit more used to see the zones, and they started to understand a little bit of what's going on.
For me, yes, because before a lot of riders, except for the amateur pro, because I make this distinction that they have a lot of hours, they want to be super performer.
Let's make a broad definition of amateur pro. 15 hours per week or more, and
15, 16, but crazy about everything. I don't want to say this, but we had a fight with one athlete 1 month ago because we did a test. We upload the result and changing a bit the zone, and we received a report of the last 3-4 years zones test, and in between the upper and the lower there were like 10 watts. But he said to us, I don't think our zone made from the test is correct, because I feel better with zone, pam, pam, pam.
Okay.
10 watts.
10 watts.
10 watts is
Yeah.
the same.
Nothing. It's nothing.
Is nothing, and especially in every zone we have a range of 10, 15 watts. So what we are speaking about? That's where I'm a pro. But anyway, what I was saying, come dicevo? I forgot.
I lost it. So,
No.
before the amateur pro, what was gone?
we love amateur
About
pro.
the zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
About the zone, yes. Since COVID, I think, because when you are on rollers, what you do? You just look at the screen or your Garmin or sometimes Zwift race. But anyway, before the people, it was okay, we meet with other guys, we go 2, 3 hours. The time we have, I don't look nothing. When I come home, I stop my Garmin, upload, and most of the people don't look anymore until the next ride. Now with this moment, we were everybody at home, we were looking, maybe also because a lot of times free to look and study, looking at GCN.
Yeah. Helps a
I
lot
think,
for some things.
yeah, and this is one thing that I want to say. I think the pro cycling, it made another step forward on quality, on speed, on the strongest average rider because of this. Because everybody did training, they train, recovery, and maybe they found that the gaining it were recovery in between.
Yeah.
And one time you reach best condition, you say, okay, so I keep going.
I also think, and you might have a different idea on this, that now the pro cycling has younger generations that are more experienced than the younger generation were 10 years ago, because they already did 5 or 10 years training with a power meter and looking at the data and having things done, let's say, not in a very free way, but more controlled. And I think that Del Toro, who comes to the Tour Down Under, he has been training consistently for quite some time, and it's not just put there and, let's say, see how you find yourself in the pro peloton. I think this is a side effect of the power meter and the training developments in the, let's say, last decade.
Yeah, totally agree.
When you came into pro cycling, it was something like this. It was quite a big change from, let's say, the under 23 and the pro, or not so much.
Now I say my story, but it's a bit different to the story of the most of the people born in my generation, because my father was already involving in cycling, so. I become little by little already, I don't want to say pro since under 23, but close to my limit. So I started to train with power meter as juniores, but it was maybe 5% of the peloton at this moment. Now 5% don't have, so 95% train with SRM, it were SRM at the time. And so when I become pro, I won 2 races in the first year, but at this time, the normality, it was okay. Now you become pro, you start to know a little bit how to train, you just listen at the oldest guys. Now you become pro, and if in the first 2 years you don't bring something good, it's over. Next one. So it's different in the past, but 10 years ago. I don't say 25 years. But my story is a bit different. but most of the people at this time were just okay. I'm super strong. I'm here because I won some races, but I don't know nothing. Now it's totally different. For this, it's not true that now the young guys of this moment are stronger. No, they just know what they must do to be stronger.
Oh, I like the perspective that you have. So we talked about racing, we talked about training. I want to talk also about testing. So what is the general testing protocol that you do for amateurs, and how often do you do it? And instead, in the pro scene, how is that managed?
Okay, there are a lot of tests. I start with an amateur with a ramp test indoor because it's
Easy to do.
yes, it's easy to do. It's repeatable in the time. The same rollers in our gym, and we have a result in power in earth zone, and we start in
this way.
In this way. Another test, if the athlete has a power meter, is a critical power test. The critical power test is important because we analyze the power profile, anaerobic profile, aerobic profile. We test on 3 or 5 minutes, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20.
Normally we do 3 plus 12.
Yes.
Because the average of our athlete can do this way. When one guy is stronger, we do 15 or 20, but...
And we analyze a short time, a sprint, 10 seconds or 50 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. And we analyze their profile and the characteristic of athlete.
Yeah.
Kogan and Allen test is the king of test 5 and 20 minutes, but for me it's a difficult 20 minutes full gas.
Especially for the non-capacity of the riders to keep a rhythm for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the main.
So we're saying that the ramp test is easy, like impossible to fail. It's quite short also, and it's a nice way to start. Then the more advanced the amateur gets, can probably progress to other kinds of tests. So let's say probably the wing gate of 30 seconds or the maximum power, or let's say critical power model, which is 3 to 5 minutes and 8 to 20 minutes as a second stage.
Yeah.
Another test.
And you measure heart rate and power, or also something else in these tests? What do you like to see?
No, most of the time, 90% of our athletes use power meter. So power meter.
I agree.
We try sometimes even with Lactate, but I think I'm a good supporter of Lactate threshold, but I think going on it will lose importance.
We can't
If I may, I love the lactate testing, but one thing is to do a test and one thing is to use that data during training consistently, and that is impossible. So if it's impossible to use it, then even if you know it, doesn't make sense. You know, knowing your VO2. Okay, now I know that I have 62, and then what do I do with the 62? If you're a coach, you can do some stuff. So see how it develops, but you need to check how it develops. If you do a test once a year,
I think the same. I agree, and I think now at this moment the best test is a critical power test. So also a pro rider, when you do 1 20 minute full gas every 45 60 days, it's enough. But like I said before, you will found also in a different way. When you do effort during training, you can find
you see if it changes. If the coach is good, you can see that something changed. But I'm a big fan of the critical power, also for another reason, because it is not only physical, it's only also mental. To know how long 5 minutes are, or 4 minutes, or 3 minutes, it's not so easy. So at first you see athletes that maybe start very high and then very low, or the opposite. After they train and test, this becomes different. So learning how much you can do in 3 minutes and 12 minutes or whatever, it's another side of testing that adds some value. So this is one of the main reasons I like it.
The reason, because the amateurs don't like critical power.
Oh yeah, they like the ramp test. You go until you blow.
And is always, I can say 100 times always, stronger the rider is, and stronger there are always also in keep your digestion.
Yeah, okay.
Because you will manage
control the management of the effort.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but because they train more, they know more himself. So
the secret is the management of intensity in Gran Fondo. Is marathon race. It's the part of the race. You can do full gas every minute. It's impossible. It's impossible.
You will never found a pro cyclist that do a critical power 5 minutes that start 600 and explode.
And instead, since you started pro testing, how and how often do you do that?
Normally, we do one test in December. Before they were more focused on lactate. Now they start to know that it's easier testing the critical power, even because it's more easy. You just go to one climb, because when we are in training camp, we are 30 riders. So imagine test 30 riders with lactate, you need 2-3 days. And so for this reason, also because you can do it during the season, because it's not like a juniores or under 23 team that live all together. As a pro, you can't go to the home of one rider to test him. So it's more easy. And now in the last period of time, they are trying also to test your capacity to repeat your performance. So that in my opinion, is the best way to found the very good riders and found the champions. Because when you are able to do, I don't know, 70 kilos, 20 minutes, 400 watt after 4 hours, for sure you are strong. When you are able to do 400 watts after 1 hour, one under 23 strong can do it, but the champion do after 4 hours.
A test after 5,000 kilojoules is different between a test of fresh or after 1 hour.
After 5,000. It's a nightmare.
You can win
after 3-4.
My best test 20 minutes after 5 hours. It were 400 watts and 71 kilos. Because sometimes I laugh when you speak to the riders of the area and they say, this amateur, it go like you.
Yes. More or less. Yes.
if we go to one climb and we are both fresh, maybe I even suffer more because we train so much that sometimes we need time to go faster. But for sure, after 4 hours, even Cavendish drop the strongest climber of the area, 100%. And they think also when they speak about the sprinter, they think they don't go in climb. But when you go 5,000-meter stage and you only take half an hour, do some calculation, they are strong.
It's 5 hours of racing, not 5 hours of riding and then do on efforts.
And coffee stop.
And yeah, we also sometimes forget that people that are in those races, in those positions, they were probably the best kid that was in the under 16 in the region or in the country. Then this goes on and on and on.
Exactly.
So if they were, the best guy in the country at 18 years of age, and you're a worker of 35, 40 years, that you're very good and everything, but you've never even beat the record of the school in something. There is an objective difference between the level of athletes that you're comparing, so you cannot pretend.
It's always, if you want to look at the career of everybody, it's always when you are under 15 province or region, under 17 national, and under 23 Europe or world. Because if you look, every rider, they were on the podium of European Championship or World Championship, top 10 in Avenir, always. So
but you have to think that the very good World Tour riders, how many people are there? 400, 500, more or less?
More
or less.
Is 600.
Well, okay.
800.
More or less, let's say 800. 800, if the career is 10 years or 15 years, it means 50 new people per year. 50 people in all the world. So it means 5 people in every country, more or less, to have an idea. No?
When I become pro, five guys in the World Tour this year. So
So you think you are better than the 5 best guys in Italy? Difficult.
Conti, Bettiol, Bonifazio, and Moscon. Moscon and me,
So it's. I made a simple calculation. More or less, you come very close to these numbers.
5 guys. 5 guys every year, more or less, to the World Tour. Sometimes 7, sometimes 2. Last year's 2.
And back on testing, since we explained how do you do it, how often do you do this kind of testing? Because we said once in December and then?
And on every rider. I mean, like us in pro team, I think we don't have a regular testing because I don't know, you go to Romandia in May, only in April before Giro, and if there is a climb, chrono climb, I don't know, time trial in cronoscalata in Italian. Of 20 minutes and you are a climber, that's the test.
That's the test.
How you are already covered for the next month, or
so you see the data during the races, how it develops. No?
Or like me, when I did the classic, you race every week where you can add a test of 20 minutes. It's even not necessary because it's more important be strong in the 2, 3, 5 minutes. So
Training Peaks helps the coach.
On amateurs, how often do you like the test instead? If you do them, how often do you see the necessity?
Pre-test every year. Pre-test.
I think it's more important with young guys. But where you can see every 3-4 months a big difference or a big improvement. Like we train a team of juniores. Here we like to one at the start of the season, one half season, one at the end.
We did 2 tests in 3 months.
Yeah. We did one test at the end of last season in October, and one,
January.
1 month ago, with
But
12 minutes, because
if you see data that, let's say, during this month before a test or without a test change, do you adjust the FTP
Yes.
of the guy, or you wait until the test?
No, we adjust.
Okay, so
Even in amateur,
that is I think one of the key parts for amateurs. Now, that sometimes you need to make adjustment to the training plans and to your values, even without a test, if you have sufficient data that tell you, I mean, you're going in a direction which is hopefully positive, but sometimes it's negative. Sometimes you have to.
We always ask to
Lower.
our guys about how you feel the hardness of the training, because when they say to us, this training that I did 3-4 times in the last 20 days, it look more easy. Okay, it's time to change the zone. It's easy.
It's important to analyze every day,
and put comment.
Yes.
Our key is the comment on Training Peaks.
Every day
Perfectly
could
agree.
be a test. In every day could be a test,
Yeah.
because sometimes
5 times 8 minutes have threshold. I can't finish it. Maybe it's because it's too high, or I finish easy. No way, it's too low.
Yeah,
So, okay.
And when you have to decrease the number, what's the reaction?
No, we do not too much, because they don't like, because they are really focused on it. It look like it's the most important thing, but maybe even the guys working for Criterium, they think FTP, but in the end, if you are strong in 20 second and half minute effort win gate test, what do you mean? What is important in FTP? Where you go 40 minutes or 1 hour at threshold? Never. So.
Oh, good, guys. Oh, one final thing.
Yeah.
Since we mentioned before, this is my last question.
Yeah.
I've seen, and I also trained people that were at, let's say, very, very good level in amateurs, winners of Grand Fondos, that they had a problem. Let's say, during downhills, I lose a lot of time, or during this kind of sections, when they are sprinting, they drop me, and then I catch them back in your uphill. Also, the guy said, okay, but I don't like to train in a parking lot. I don't like to train on sprints, because I'm strong in climbs. I like to do climbs. What do you think of this? How important is to train your weaknesses, even if you don't like it? Is it something necessary, and do you put some people that say, okay, I lose in downhill? Do you make them do some exercises specifically for this, or you just say, go with what
honestly,
you like?
in downhill, not because we didn't had a question from a rider. I'm not able to go fast in downhill, but we work a lot in the weakness of the athlete. Like this year, a new guy from Tuscany, Liguria, went to us and say, I'm strong in climb. That is true, because 63 or 64 kilos and can do 15 minutes, 300 watts. So not bad for an amateur. And I put some sprint in his training, and after 1 month, I never did one sprint in training, but now I feel more comfortable on it. And now I want to do some criterium also, because I feel more explosive. Yeah, for sure. You never did it.
It's important to train every power profile, not only a part of power profile, not only 20 minutes, but
because you never arrive alone, or it's very difficult to drop everybody. So be fast can always be the difference.
So being a complete cyclist is always better than being probably a specialist.
For sure, I will never go working only in a characteristic.
Oh yeah.
That is your weakness, or I don't say to one guy that want to win a Gran Fondo, okay, 45 sprint, and okay, in climb you are already strong, we don't work on it. No, but when we have time, when we can, for sure we add also something in your weakness zone.
So
But-
maybe in the off season you make
True.
you bring the weak parts to a decent level. When you're decent, you can have fun on the things
Agree.
you like.
Our goal is train every athlete to become as Wout van Aert, sprinter.
Power. I want to see the power profile of Wood in training peaks. Excellent, excellent.
I don't want, because I would be too scared to look at anything else.
The real goal is
Oh, but sometimes when you see we are already most of the people in the bunch suffering, and sometimes they stop for pee. That's crazy. No, really. I remember one time in Tirreno Adriatico, we were in the middle of Italy, up and down, and but
Very hard.
suffering, another stage, and he stopped for pee.
Well,
sempre.
After 5 minutes.
good, guys.
Good.
Thanks a lot for this conversation. It's really been a pleasure to have you two as guests.
Thank you.
I think we did a lot.
Also for us, pleasure.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Ciao,
Ciao,
ciao.
ciao.